In a jarring case of income inequality, there are certain situations where rich kids living a very lavish lifestyle get to tour college campuses on very nice jets, while the rest of college students deal with crippling student loan debt, which has now totaled $1.4 trillion in the U.S. Now, there is a company known as Magellan, and what Magellan essentially tries to do is make the college touring process easier for wealthy students. In fact, Magellan takes care of details such as setting efficient travel routes, arranging private campus tours, and orchestrating ground transportation. Base price is jet specific. 10 hours of airtime on a light-size 7-seater Hawker 400 XP starts at $52,000, while the same package on the aforementioned supersized Gulfstream G200, which can seat up to 18, costs upward of $100,000.
And that is not worth it.
Now, keep in mind that those prices far exceed a year worth of tuition at the vast majority of college campuses, okay? So they're literally paying this massive amount of money just to go from one college campus to another, to have their interviews, to tour the campus and figure out if this is where they want to go. Now, let me give you more details on this, and then once we dig deeper, you'll understand why this is far worse than just saying, oh, well, wealthy students have it good and middle-class students have it bad. So unless you're flying private, according to Joseph Santo, who works at Magellan, there's no way to see 10 schools over the course of 5 days. Is it cost-effective? Absolutely not. But for people with busy schedules who can't take a week or two off of work, it means dollars and cents at the end of the day. Now, the biggest problem here is not just that rich kids get to live a better life, it's that when you use a service like Magellan, it sends a pretty strong message to administrators and officials at various college campuses. And right now, there is a concerted effort to reach out to wealthier students and try to recruit them, lure them into the campus, because you know that if you accept them, their parents are likely to make massive donations to your institution, or the student will graduate and become part of the alumni association and donate money to the institution, or he or she will also donate large sums of money to the college in order to have their name written on a building. And so it means money, right? Wealthy students mean money. And so oftentimes, admissions will favor a wealthy student over a poor student who's going to need financial aid, because that poor student is not going to pay the full tuition, is not going to make a massive donation in most cases, right? So even if the poor student has a better GPA, better test scores, and is overall better suited for the campus, the admissions department will choose the rich student instead. So not only is there inequality when it comes to the tuition situation, there's also inequality when it comes to admissions. And it's becoming more and more difficult for potential college students to get accepted into big-name Ivy League schools.
Yeah. On like the ground floor of this, it makes sense. Like the family has the money, they can do it if they want. And if you're spending $100,000, that's for like the 10 hours or whatever. So you're spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for all of this. If you can do that, then I guess you can do that. First of all, if you can do that, then you don't just have hundreds of thousands of dollars, you have tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And for the school, I guess, blah, blah, they want their donations and all that. Look, if you want to demonstrate to the school how much money you have, screw the planes. Just say, okay, I'm going to visit, and I just sponsored 4 of your students for all of their tuition for the entire time they're at the college. Demonstrate that way by doing a good thing for the world, rather than just burning it up into the atmosphere and making some clouds dirty.
Yeah, let's discuss college campuses for a second, because a lot of people ask, well, why is tuition so expensive? And it's not, there's no one answer. There's many different factors that play a role in why tuition is so expensive. But one of the main reasons that doesn't get talked about enough is that, much like the US and Russia having an arms race, right? College campuses have a buildings race, where it's like, okay, which college campus has the best buildings? Okay, we just built this building, now we have to build another one. Okay, we have brand new state-of-the-art technology, but we want more, right? And what they do is they try to play this game to see which college is the best, which ranks the best or the highest on the U.S. News and World Report list or whatever it is. Like, first of all, who reads U.S. News and World Report for the college rankings? A lot of them do. And you know what? It's worthless. It doesn't mean anything. And so that's the reason why it's so expensive. That's the reason why they favor the wealthy students over the poor students, because they want the money to build more fucking buildings.
Yeah. I don't understand the whole. I'm not rich. I don't understand the way that they think. And even if you start to break down why it makes financial sense for them to do this, my reaction this is a non-rational reaction, is that I want to dedicate like as much time as it takes to like carve a mountain into a big middle finger as they fly by. Just I want them to see it. And I don't understand that wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars just to feel cool. Oh, I'm in an 18-seater plane. Being on a plane sucks. It doesn't matter how nice the plane is. It sucks to fly. Buy an exotic car, and when you get to the place, light it on fire if you want to look cool and feel cool and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just dump it in a pond and be like, I'm here. That's cool. Being in a plane for a couple of hours, and then you get off the plane and you're a schmuck not on a plane anymore. What is cool about that?
I know, but understand that, look, I think that there's the cool factor that you're talking about that appeals to them.
I think that's why they do it.
But there's more to it than that, right? There's a luxury aside from the plane that they get that no one else gets.
I get the luxury. I've flown Spirit. I get luxurious flying.
But it's not about the material component of it. It's about the opportunities that it buys you, right? It buys you the opportunity of getting into these colleges easier, but more importantly, what it does is it allows people to tour the best colleges and then make a decision as to which one they want to go to. Look, when I
took a road trip.
This is going to sound like, I know, I'm going to sound like bitter man right now, but it's not. I ended up going to a college that was great, and I love what I'm doing, and I think it all worked out for me, right? But I didn't have the luxury of even considering an out-of-state college because of the costs, right? I had to stay local because I knew I needed to live with my parents. I didn't want to live on campus and incur these extra charges and extra costs. And so, yeah, I literally applied to 2 colleges. Both of them were local, USC and Cal State Northridge.
I applied to like 1 in Massachusetts, I think. But no, normally it was just you expect you're going to go, first of all, at my high school, you're going to UConn. If you're going to college, that's where you're going. Maybe Western or something. Yeah, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe this is for a devil's advocate only, because if you're not well versed on exactly how it's going to go, which you explained many aspects of it perfectly, Anna.
Well, thank you.
I just this is part of the benefit, right? And also, all that is true about having a better chance of getting in and the legacy factor and all that stuff, right? That already exists. Rich kids, they know the rich kids, even if they drove there in their Audi rather than flew on their, was it a Gulfstream? S500? What the fuck? So they know the rich kids. They already have this hierarchy of admitting them sooner.
The G200, you're showing your roots, by the way.
My bad. So
I had to look it up.
So just that you have that factor, it's already there. So I'm finding it a little harder to be upset outside of just being jealous. And I'm not saying that's what you guys are doing.
No, that's what I'm doing.
It's
like
it's an automatic reaction because, I mean, the reason why jealousy exists is because if you could be in the position, you'd do it too, right?
No, I would sponsor I would go in and be like, every school I go to, choose 5 kids and paying for their tuition for 4 years.
Right. I mean,
if you want to just show I have money to throw around, why not do good with the money?
Because you want to do it for yourself. I mean, think about it this way. I always say this with our levels, because we have a certain level of opportunity, and now we live in LA, first of all. So, I mean, I'm not a restaurant person. So if someone says, I'm going to go to the finest restaurant because it's our anniversary, and I'm going to spend $500 and then order all this stuff, and then this comes, and then that fancy, and then this chef cooked this way.
So good.
Yeah, you would do it, right?
I don't really like that.
That's your extravagance. That's what you enjoy.
I
and maybe people without money may be like, oh, I got to eat at McDonald's again. But we can't pay for it. I mean, you can. So maybe if you go, it's our anniversary. I'm paying for 100 people to eat that you can't eat, and I'm paying for, but you could do that, but you're not going to.
By the way, let me clarify something. If I was wealthy, would I take advantage of these types of opportunities? Of course I would. And so I'm not angry at wealthy people living a wealthy lifestyle, right? I feel like it's your obligation to enjoy that money if you have it. But there are two issues that bother me, and it doesn't really have to do with jealousy. I don't really feel jealous. Like, I don't really care about jets. What I do care about, though, is equal opportunity. And right now, because of income inequality, we have a very tiny group of people being able to travel from one college campus to another on a jet. And then we have the vast majority of students either deciding not to go to college altogether because it's so expensive and they're worried about having $100,000 in student loan debt for a 4-year degree, or going through with it and having $100,000 in student loan debt to get a degree. Yeah. And by the way, the average amount that a college graduate has in student loan debt is about $26,600. But that number is rapidly increasing because tuition continues to increase and wages do not keep up with inflation. So it's a nightmare all around. And then the second part that bothers me is that a student who might be born into an underprivileged, low socioeconomic status now doesn't have that great equalizer of education to pull themselves out. They don't have like the same level of upward mobility that generations before us had. And so that's what really bothers me. Rich people living like rich people is as American as apple pie,
The part about the problem
is
isn't that
American?
Nice low class.
it's more like it's hot dogs. No, but
Vignettes.
hot dog pie. So no, the thing is so all that's fine, and that's why I was wondering if it's a jealousy thing versus that, because the problem is what our system has now created.
Yeah.
Because or we don't know, but we assume a lot of these rich people have this lifestyle and then have probably gotten in a way that it's screwed over other people to get there. Because now just the way our system works.
Yep.
If you're gonna be in the system, you wanna make money, you gotta screw someone else over because that's what we've created it to be. So that's been a whole change in society, which, how do we do that? I would love for that to happen. How do we do that, you know? And then you have to work even harder. If you're coming from a place where you don't have any money or opportunity or knowledge or given information about how to do it right, you go, oh, this will be fine, cool. And you spend all this money, like I did, when you have none of it, and you're still paying off student debt after 14 years.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, but honestly, knowledge and I guess the opportunity has to be given there just in how to do it correctly. So you can go to lower level schools, lower level being not Ivy League, but they're still awesome schools, because I had no intention of going to Ivy League schools. I was like, what's the difference? But we're told that so much. As long as you're given information, you can maybe do it the right way. And then there's more of an equalizer, but the system has to change.
Yeah, look, one of my dreams is to create curriculum for high school students, like seniors or juniors, so they understand, what they're getting themselves into when it comes to college. Because, I just remember having a counselor in high school who was a freaking awesome counselor, all around great guy. But he was giving advice based on what he experienced when he went to college. And so when he knew that I was only applying to local schools, he was like, what are you doing? You have to live on campus. You got to get that college experience. But that college experience is a privilege at this point. And I knew that I couldn't pay for that. My parents couldn't pay for that. And so, I ended up going to a state school, and I'm fine. You're going to be fine if you go to a state school. TYT members get a lot of behind-the-scenes footage that most of our audience never gets to see. Cenk shares too much. I usually get a little irritated by it, and we usually go back and forth about things that we disagree about. And if you're interested in seeing that and more, just become a member by going to tytnetwork.com/join.